evening, everyone. How are you?
Hello.
Hello. Guys, yesterday the class failed because uh, we were using this service that is called Let's Encrypt so we can create a certificate. But today it's operational, so we can use it and we can create our SSL certification for our EC2 instance. So I tried yesterday at 9 to use the service and it works. But the thing is that I want to create it again for you. So I want to give you that demonstration. And the idea is that you can follow this guy today or tomorrow, I don't know, and you can add the certificate um, to your EC2 instance. Okay, so we're going to reinforce the topic that we learned yesterday. Remember, we learned this service that is called Route 53. Yesterday we bought a domain. Okay, let me show the domain that we bought. Let me see, hosted zones. And this is the domain that we bought yesterday. This domain costs $3 per year. It's a free, I mean, super cheap domain, guys, but I mean, it's helpful for us because we are creating examples or practices. But it's not so formal as .com or .army.net. So this is going to be the domain that is going to be in our organization for the next year. Okay, so um, yesterday, guys, we created this um, subdomains for for the demonstration. But the thing is that um, these two subdomains failed when I create them in our two EC2 instance, right? And the real problem was that the service of encryptation was not available. So I'm gonna try to redo this process again. Okay, so just to reinforce the topic here, there are some, some key words that we need to understand. For example, what is DNS? A DNS record. What is a subdomain? What is a domain? Okay, and there is another concept that is called the TTL. So let's reinforce the topic. And what is Route 53? As I told you yesterday, it's a service that we have on AWS that is going to help us to manage these domain name systems. Okay, so we can have like 25 domain in our organization. If you want, it's possible. And you're going to hold a hosted zone per domain. Right now, in our project, let me present. In our organization, we just have one hosted zone, okay? And inside of this hosted zone, we have 4 records right now, okay? Now, these records that I show you, those are DNS records. Now, what are the main functions of this service? Domain registration, DNS management, traffic routing, and this is going to help us to identify health checks in our instances. Imagine that the instance is down because um, something happened to the instance. This service can help us to create an alert to identify if that EC2 instance is online. Okay. Now, what is a domain? This is another key concept, very important. A domain is a human readable web address, like example.com. And this is going to map to an IP address. So for example, google.com, it's pointing to an IP of a server of Google, okay? In this case, this is a DNS record because we have the domain example.com and it's pointing to a server, okay? Now, what is a subdomain? A subdomain, guys, is a prefix that we add to the domain. So we can have an infinite amount of subdomains in our projects. And these are some examples. For example, api.example.com. As you see, the root domain is example.com, but we have this prefix IP, okay? And this is a subdomain. When you add a prefix to the domain, okay? So for example, here we have another one, a student-portal. This is the subdomain, but the domain is example.com. And the last one is your backend.example.com. And as you see, every subdomain is a child record of the example.com domain. Okay. Now, what is a DNS record? In a DNS record, guys, we set up the name, in this case is the subdomain, the type of the record. Then we are going to put a value. In the value box, we're going to set up the IP of the EC2 instance. And then there is another concept that is called the TTL. The TTL is this time that we want to cache the IP with the subdomain. And in a production environment, it's a good idea that you can have a long TTL. But if you are having a development environment, the TTL as a short lead time is good, okay? Because this can give you the right amount to create changes in the DNS records. Now, the TTL controls how long the DNS records are cached in the DNS resolvers. The DNS resolver is a server that is having those maps. I mean, it's going to have a table of the IP and the name of the subdomain. So we save that in our AWS account using a DNS resolver. Now, the TTL of 300 means that that IP is going to be cached for 5 minutes to the subdomain, okay? Because 300 seconds is equivalent to 5 minutes. Now, what are the most common type of records? As I told you, when you have a record, you put a name, a type, value, and the TTL, right? Now, the type, we have, these are like the most common, but we have like 15 types for DNS records, and the A type is pointing to an IP address. This IP address could be a cell phone or a computer. Now, the 4A type of record, this is pointing to an IPv6 address. The IPv address number 6 or version number 6 is used on IoT, Internet of Things. So for example, if you have a camera that wants to create a connection to the internet, a security camera is going to use the IPv6 connections. Or for example, a GPS, or imagine that you have a refrigerator in your house and that is a smart refrigerator and you want to have a connection to the internet, it's going to use this IPv6 addresses, okay? And yeah, so we can point to those kind of, I mean, because we are going to start pointing to these kinds of addresses, we need to create a domain for our server if that electronic device is going to be connected to our server. Imagine that you have this, I mean, refrigerator and you want to play music there. You might need to have a DNS record to resolve IPv6 traffic, okay? Now, so then is the CNAME. And this type of DNS is that maybe you want to point from the one domain to another domain. Imagine that if you access to google.com and you want to redirect to Facebook, you need to create a CNAME domain, okay? Now, the MX, TXT, and NS, these are domains that are commonly used for email servers. Imagine that you want to set up as an SMTP server in AWS. You might need to set up these 3 type of DNS records, okay? So let's continue. Remember, a hosted zone, guys, it's like a folder that is going to hold all the DNS settings of your domains. So yeah, you can put public domains and private domains here, so it's possible. Now, a hosted zone is going to cost 50 cents per month, okay? And it's not the same, this cost, as buying the domain. Now, if you create this example.com hosted zone, you're going to pay 50 cents per month, okay? So per year is going to be $6 per year. Now, as a summary, guys, because this was the content that we learned yesterday, Route 53, it's going to help you to manage domain names, subdomains, DNS records, and it's going to help you with the public traffic routing. Now, we're going to have this project that is the hands-on part of the class that we didn't finish yesterday. Okay, so we're going to create first our custom subdomain for one EC2 instance, and then we're going to install HTTPS to that instance. So let me show you something. First, I will go to my account that I have here, and I need to have my EC2 instance created first. The instance that I have here, this one, my server, right now contains an SSL certificate because I retried the process yesterday at night and it worked, but I need to show it to you again. So I'm gonna remove this SSL test because this was another test that I done yesterday. So let me terminate this instance, and I will create another instance. This instance is gonna be called SSL practice. Okay, and we're going to choose the Amazon Linux. We're going to use a T2 micro.
So should we be creating this with you?
No, because
Okay.
there is this assignment that I have here that to the EC2 instance that you have, you're going to add this subdomains, and these are the steps. This assignment is going to cost 3 points, okay? And you're going to add a subdomain to your backend, the actual machine that you have right now, okay? So let's see. Okay, and let me finish creating the instance. I will allow traffic in the SSH. This is the one that is the port that is helping with the connection to the terminal. This is the one that this is the HTTPS, the one that we need to put in our instance. And the HTTP traffic is in port 80. So we need to add the 3 ports here. And yeah, let's continue. We are going to put here 10 gigabytes, and we're going to use the GP2. Now, let me launch the instance. Now here, this message, I will remove this option, proceed with without a key pair. Excellent. So I think the instance is it's online. Let me see. Let me refresh the state. Okay, it's pending. We need to do a waiting time. Let me enter to it. Now, it's very important to understand that we have a public IP, right? So this is going to be the IP that we're going to point or target in our Route 53 subdomain. So let me open the Route 53 service. Sorry, guys. I want to add a new Route 53 in a new tab. Okay, as you see, we have one hosted zone right now. And this is the hosted zone. Okay, so we're going to add a new record. And this domain is going to be with the same name of the instance, right? Let me see. Let me recall the name of the instance, guys. Let me see. SSL practice, right? Let me see. Yeah, SSL-practice. Okay, so this will be the name of the subdomain, SSL-practice, but it doesn't mean that they need to match, guys. This is just for, we can understand that this is the subdomain that is pointing to that EC2 instance. Now, the type of the record is going to be the type A because this is going to point or target to an IP address. And the IP address of this instance, we have it here. This is the public IP address, okay? So we need to copy this IP and we need to put it here as the value. And we're going to change the time of this record. No, we're going to leave it as 300. Remember, this is equivalent to 5 minutes. And we're going to click here, create record. So let me list the records that we have here. And this is the new record, okay? So actually, if I try to visit this URL, it's not gonna work because I don't have anything running in the port 80, guys. You will see that, I mean, nothing is gonna be displayed here, but the idea is that I want to display the backend of my project, okay? So let me stop this request. Now, let me go to the EC2 instance and I'm going to connect to the instance here. Remember, if you want to deploy a backend here in Node.js, you need to install first GitHub, then you need to install Node.js. But first, we need to make sure that our instance is updated. -y. Okay, so this is going to check if there is any update that we need to download in this software. Okay, nothing to do, so it's completed. Now let me install git sudo john install git. Okay, I'm gonna press Y here. Now I will install Node.js. Excellent. Now let's continue. Now we need to clone our repository. So let me access to my GitHub account. I think I might need to open another. GitHub.com, and here we have the agenda backend. I'm gonna copy this repository URL and let me paste it here. Okay, first I need to create a folder. mkdir projects, cd projects. Now inside of this folder, I will clone the repository, git clone. Okay, let me enter to the agenda. And now let me install the dependencies. Okay, now I need to create the .env file. So at this point, I will stop presenting, okay? Give me a second. Okay. So I created the .env file. And now, guys, let me see. I think that my code actually, if I go to the index, is running in the port 400. I mean, yeah, 443. Right now, I'm gonna deploy my backend in the port 80. Okay, so let me commit this. I'm gonna send the change to GitHub. Now I will clone the change. I mean, I need to pull the change. Okay, great. Now, I can run the server. Let me show it. Node index.js. And you will see that the server has been stopped. I mean, I am listening in the port 80, but for some reason, you will see that it's not available. Let me show it. Let me go to the IP of the instance. That is this one. Remember the port is 80, so we need to put the port here because the default port 80 is for internet, but I need to put the API prefix and the name of the route, in this case, the person route. So as you see, this is not running. And the reason that it's not running is because we are not able to run anything in the port 80 if you don't have the sudo access. Remember, sudo is super user, the super user access, so you can run a process. Okay, so let me put sudo node index.js. So right now the server is online, and if I try to access here, do you see that it's working, guys?
Yes, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me show it here. Looks pretty here. Now, but something that I want to share with you guys is this IP. It's not secure, and we don't have the TTL. I mean the SSL certificate, and we are using the IP, right? But remember that I created the record here. This one is pointing to this IP. So if we copy this and we replace it by the IP that I have here, you will see that it's going to work. Well, it's supposed to work. I think it's not working. Oh, I need to put here the prefix HTTP. Give me a second, guys. HTTP test. For some reason, it's not working. Let me see the IP that I set up is this one. Let me see if it's the same one. Three 86. Oh, for some reason I use a different IP, guys. Why I did choose a different one? Let me correct this because this is the correct IP. I didn't use the correct one. Let me see. As you see, this is test SSL is pointing to another IP, guys. So the way to modify the record is that we can edit the record here, and we need to put the correct ID here, the correct IP. This one, I'm gonna copy paste it now here. But we need to do a waiting time of 5 minutes. Remember, the TTL is going to cache that IP for 5 minutes. So I think we need to do a waiting time. This is the same IP. Let me remove this one. No, I'm using the SS test SSL, right? So this was the one that it was not working. Let me remove this record, guys. I don't want to have confusions. Let me delete this one too. Okay, so this one is pointing to the 382 191 12. Okay. Let's see if it's working right now. No, it isn't. If we don't want to do this waiting time, we can remove the record. Let me remove it. I will create another one. Create record. The subdomain is going to be SSL test -2. Okay, and the IP of the instance is this one, right? Let me see if this IP is working. Yeah, it is. So let me target to this IP. The type is going to be A, and the TTL is 300 seconds. Let me create the record. Now, let's see if this works. Let me copy the subdomain that I have here, and let me put it here. Instead of this IP, let me add HTTP/. Yeah, and as you see, my instance right now is is working in this new subdomain. You see it, guys? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, and it's working in the port 80, but we want to add SSL, guys. We want to add secure traffic here because this traffic is not secure. If you want to display this project in the port 443, we need to do some modifications to our instance. So that's the part that we did miss yesterday because the service was not available. And I was feeling like I was a dumb person because I didn't remember the process. No, I know this. I have done this like 100 times the same, but the service was offline. So first, if you want to install the certificate in the EC2 instance, these are the instructions. First, you need to have the domain. We have done this step. Now we pointed our domain that we have here to the port 80 instead of the port 300. I mean 3000, but I know that you're using the port 3000. That's why I leave it this way. Now we need to connect to the EC2 instance. We have done this step. The next step is that we need to install this app that is called Certbot. So the steps to install Certbot are the next ones. First, you need to update DNF. So let me update it. Okay, so it's updated. We don't need to download anything. Now we need to install Certbot. Okay, this has been completed. Now we need to check if Certbot is installed. And see, it works. Now, the next step, we need to identify if the port 80 is not busy. So this is a command that is going to list all the process that you have deployed in the port 80. Okay, so let me copy paste this this command and paste it here. And you will see that nothing's going to be listed. And that's because the port 80, it's free, okay? So we need to make sure that port is free. Now, if you are using PM2, guys, you need to stop everything, okay? So I know that you are using PM2, so you might need to stop all the demonized process that you have in the port 80, if you have a process in the port 80, but I think you don't have. Now, we need to install our certificate. And the way to install it is that we need to copy this command until the -d, and then we need to put the name of the domain that we are creating. So let's return here. And remember that the name of our subdomain for this practice is this one. So I'm going to copy paste this subdomain and paste it in the terminal. Okay, so we're going to create a certificate for the domain SSL-test-2. This is going to request an email. I think we can use this one. Yeah. I am going to accept the terms. I will press Y again. And this is going to request the encryptation. This was the part that was failing yesterday. And as you see, now it works with the same command, guys, but it didn't work yesterday. For some reason, the service was not online. Now I know that I can check the status of the service here in this URL. So for the next time that I'm gonna give this class, I need to make sure that the service is gonna be online. Now let's go, and now we have the SSL certification, so we can start delivering in the port 443. So if you want to deploy something in Node.js in that port, you need to do some modifications to your backend. And if you check here, we need to update our server or our index.js. We need to, previously to talk about the step number 7, when you are creating the certificate, this is going to create two files in our EC2 instance. And it's the full chain.pem and the private key that is going to help us to create SSL traffic. So we need to grab that content of those two files in our server or our index.js. And we need to import the file service, the file server module in Node.js, and we need to install the HTTPS too. Why we need this? Because we need to read the file, and it's always the same route, okay? But the things that is going to change is this subdomain that we have here, okay? So we need to create these options. This is an object that we need to put the key and the certificate, but we need to read those files. So we need to open that with the FS module, okay? And then you're going to create an HTTP server, and you're going to pass those options as parameters. We are going to pass the app that we have in Express, and we're going to start listening in the port 443. But this is not going to work if you are going to display something in your computer. So I'm going to give you an idea of something that is called the node environment. Okay, so we're going to set up this variable in our .env that is going to help us to identify if we are in production or we are in our local computer. So let's go to our project here, and in our .env, I removed the password because I don't want to share this with anyone. What I need to do is that I will create a node node production. This is the variable that is called environment, okay? And we're going to set up if it's going to be a production variable or environment or the local environment. So right now it's equivalent to production. But because I'm using my local computer, I'm going to leave it as local right now. So what I need to do is that I need to identify the port. If you are in a local environment, it means that we're going to be deploying our project in the port 3000. But if we are in production, we are going to start deploying the project in the port 443. So what do we need to do here? First, we need to import our .env module because we need to read this .env file. And we need to import, as I told you in the example, the FS module from Node.js because this is a native package. And then we need to import HTTPS from HTTPS, this one, okay? Now, I will create a variable that is going to read this node the node environment. Okay, so how we can do this is we need to access to the process.env the name of the variable. Okay, so we're going to do an if statement. So let me see, right now the port is going to be 3000, but we're going to do something here. We're going to create an if statement, and we're going to create a condition. The condition will be if the environment is equivalent to local, to production, we're going to use the port 443. So we're going to set up that port is going to be equal to 443. If not, the port is going to be 3000. Now, another thing that we're going to do, because this is the way that we can deploy something in our local computer. But if we want to deploy this in the production environment, we need to do an if statement here too. If environment is equivalent to production, we are going to copy paste. Let me show this part of the project. First, we need to create the options. But in this case, guys, let me format this. We need to put the name of the domain here. So remember, the name of the domain is SSL hyphen test hyphen 2 dot the name of the subdomain that we bought. It's codex P4 2025, right? And dot click. Okay. So this is the subdomain that we need to change. Okay. Now these are the options. And then we're going to use the HTTPS create server, and we're going to pass the port 443. Okay. Okay, let me format this. But instead of leaving this as a hard-coded variable value, we're going to use the port, guys. This one. Now, if you're not in production, you're going to deploy this way. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's continue. So we are identifying the environment that we are working right now. Production is going to be in the EC2 instance, and local is going to be in our local computer. Okay, so this .env file that I have here, it's actually with the password in my EC2 instance and with the environment that is equivalent to production. So it's going to identify this else statement, I mean the if statement, and the port is going to be 443. Okay, now the port 80 and the port 443 require the sudo access. So if you want to deploy something in this port, you need to add sudo at the beginning of the command, as well as I did it here. Okay, so let me first bring the changes of my local computer to the EC2 instance by using git clone, git pull. Okay, and I didn't change it for some reasons, not identifying any change. Oh yeah, I need to add SSL environment. I need to pass the commit to GitHub. Let me git pull again. Okay, so let me open the index file just to check if the modification has been done. There is this command that is called cat that you can read in a file. And this is the content of the file, as you see. If you are in production, it means that we're going to be deploying this in the port 3000, else the port 443. So yeah, it works. Now I will sudo index node index.js. And it's not working, the port 3000. I think for some reason I didn't have production. Let me see the code. Did I misspell the word production? Let me see. Oh, I see. The name of the variable that I created here was node.env. So I'm gonna update this part. So give me a second. I will stop presenting because my environment variables, I need to modify them. I need to add this variable. Okay, so give me a second. Created the modification, but I found a mistake in my logic. Let me show the problem. So when I deploy the project, guys, as you see, I am receiving this message and it makes sense. Let me explain you why. this variable is a const variable, and we cannot change the value of something that is const. So I'm gonna change this by a let variable, okay? And then I'm gonna commit it. Okay, now let's go to the instance. Git pull the changes. Okay, now let me try to deploy it again. First, let me clear the screen right now. And it will be, again, the command sudo node index.js. And as you see, I'm serving in the port 443. Now, if I go to my project here, and instead of having the HTTP, I put the HTTPS, you will see that now my project has the security certification. You see, I'm not receiving this message that is not secure. You see it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the way that we solve security certifications in our EC2 instances, okay? Now, why this is important? Because we're going to deploy a front end that is going to be our front end on React in a bucket S3, and that bucket is gonna use HTTPS. So we cannot have a connection of something that is secure with our backend that is gonna be insecure. So we need to secure our backend this way. So now, this was the practice that I wasn't able to finish it. And the reason was, as I told you again, the service of Let's Encrypt was not available. Now, the second part of the class is gonna be this. The second part of the class is that we're going to understand a new service that is called S3. And I know that you learned this the past week on some videos that I posted in Moodle. And there were some questions that you were solving. So I'm going to move a little bit quick in this part because I know that you understand if you finish those assignments, but I will explain some theory about this service too. So first we need to understand the purpose keys for Amazon S3. Now we're going to explain how S3 is going to store and manage data using buckets and objects. We're going to identify use case for S3 and this case use that we're going to explain today is going to be a website hosting. And we can configure permissions and enable public access using something that is called a policy. We're going to explain what is a policy too. And we're going to host at the end of the class a project that is going to be consuming the backend. Okay, so yeah, let's see. So let's start this. Now, what is S3? Amazon S3, this S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. It's an object storage service that is going to provide AWS. And instead of storing files inside of our EC2 instance, we're going to organize data as objects inside of a bucket. Each object is going to have a unique ID, for example, like a primary key. Okay, remember in a database, we have a primary key. So here we're going to have a unique ID. We're going to have a metadata and the content of the file. In the metadata, guys, we can save information, for example, the type of the file. The type of the file could be PDF, PNG, .mp3, for example, okay? So that's information in the metadata. For example, the date of creation and any other information about the object. Now, S3 is designed to provide 11 nines of durability in the decimal point part. So this represents that maybe one file will be missing in 1,000 years. And it's possible that you can lose one file in 1,000 years. And that's a lot of security that you're not going to be losing your files online. It has automatic scaling, so it means that you don't have a limit storage access. You can put any amount of data inside of that bucket, but you have a limit there. The limit is that you can upload files the max amount of gigabytes for that file is it's going to be 5 terabytes. So you cannot have a file that is going to weight more than 5 terabytes. So imagine that you have a movie that you want to put in your project. For example, imagine that you're working for Netflix and you're going to upload the movie in a bucket, because that's the way that Netflix is providing movies for us guys. That movie should not pass the weight of 5 terabytes, okay? And that's something that's the only limit that you have, but you can put any amount of movies in that bucket. Now, there are some key concepts that you need to understand. The first concept is that there is this word, this definition that is called bucket. This is the root container that is going to store our objects. Each bucket must have a globally and unique name. So for example, if you want to create a bucket that is called test, if someone else in another region, in another country created the bucket with the same name, you are going to receive an error because names must be unique. Okay, in buckets, the names are unique. So you need to understand that part. What is an object? And it's the actual file that we're going to store in the bucket. For example, an image, a PDF file, or a website. Yeah, and that's the case use that we're going to learn today. Now, the key is the unique path to identify each object in a bucket. We can have the name of the file and the name of the folder, and those folders are going to create a unique name. It's going to be, for example, let's see the name of the folder, controller slash connection.js, and that's the entire key, because you have the entire path of the name. I mean, the entire path of the file is going to be the key. Okay, and what is a region? That's the next concept that we need to understand, and is where the bucket is physically allocated. So guys, we know that this is cloud engineering, but those buckets, those EC2 instance, they are saved locally or physically in availability zone or a region in AWS. So you need to understand that this region that we call this US-ES1 is a group of data centers. So every data center that you have there is an availability zone. So the region is the region that is grouping those data centers, okay? Now the metadata is going to be additional information about the object. For example, the type or the creation date. Now, why we use S3? First, because the durability is high, so the data is safely stored across multiple servers, and we have scalability. This means that there are no size or scale limitations. S3 is going to grow with you. So if you need more space, S3 is going to grow by itself. Availability. This means that the access of the file is going to be 24/7 anywhere. So we are going to have that security that our files are going to be 24/7 available. Now, it's very low cost because the first 5 gigabytes, they are free. So if you have a bucket less than 5 gigabytes, guys, that's going to be in the part of the free tier. And if you start inserting objects more than 5 gigabytes, I think the cost is $1 per terabyte. So as you see, it's a lot of space. Very similar to Google Drive, right? If you want to have 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes, you need to pay $2. Something very similar, okay? But in this case, these files are going to have connections with our projects. Now, why we use S3 instead of using Google Drive or using Dropbox or using iCloud? Because we have integrations with the services in AWS. So we can create connection with the S3 buckets in our EC2 instances with Lambda functions and CloudFront. These two services that we are listing here, they are new services. I know you don't know them, but I mean, it's possible that you can create integrations or connections between services and these S3 buckets, okay? So that's why we're going to use the S3 buckets since we are developing here in AWS. Now, common cases for an S3 bucket. Maybe you want to store app uploads in our website or our mobile app. If you want to save a backup or you want to save some archives here, you can save them. It's no problem. You can share these files publicly or securely because there are two options. And then the last case of use is that we can host static websites. For example, if you want to host a portfolio, a resume, or a simple HTML, CSS project. And we're going to use this case of use today because we're going to deploy our React project here. Now, we need to understand that it has a security layer, and we can add access control to our S3 buckets. There are some methods so we can add the security. And the first method is this one, ACLS, Access Control List. This is a legacy method. It means that it was the first way that AWS was managing how to access to the information of an S3. We are not recommending to use this legacy method anymore because it has stopped to receive support. So the new method is something that is called the bucket policies. The bucket policies, guys, are JSON objects that contains rules that are going to define how you can access to a bucket and the actions that you are going to have access in the bucket. For example, create an object, update an object, put objects or saving objects inside of the S3 bucket. Those are policies that you're going to set up. I'm going to show you a policy today that is going to be a policy for reading objects from the bucket. Now, there is something that is called IAM policies too. And I created this policy to you guys because you are going to have permissions to create S3 buckets too. So it's something that you need to set up in the IAM accounts. Now, if you want to host a public website, there is an option that says that the bucket could be public and you can allow the file access here. So what is a static website? And a static website, guys, is just going to contain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No backend interaction. For example, you cannot run Node.js commands, nor Node server logic. But why do we use them? Because the fast loadings time, it's amazing. It's easy to deploy, and it's great for portfolios, blogs, and landing pages. Our project that we're going to deploy here is going to be a simple project, so that's why we're going to deploy it in an S3 bucket. Now, we need to understand that S3 cannot run code like PHP or Node.js because it is just going to deliver HTML content, okay? Now, we're going to have this practice time, but first we're going to have a break of 10 minutes, and when we return, we're going to create our S3 bucket and we're going to deploy our first HTML website in AWS, okay? So let me put a timer. I need to take some water first so I can continue because my throat right now is a little bit sore. And okay, now this time use it if you want to take some water or you want to take a small rest. So see you in 10 minutes, okay? Are you there, guys? Guys? Everyone?
Well,
Yeah.
Great. Okay, let's continue. Okay, guys, so right now, at this point, first I will take the attendance. I think that Joshua was the only one that I take, yeah. Justine, Braylon, Tammy, and Ray. Yeah. I think Jill is not present. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we need to create, the idea is that we're going to create our S3 bucket and we are going to, I'm going to explain you how this service is going to work, guys. So I will open the S3 service. Okay, and as you see, the icon of this service is a bucket because that's the principle or the root service. Okay, it's like it's gonna create a bucket where you're going to be storing objects. Okay, so it's very important to understand that you need to select the region where you are going to create the bucket. We're going to choose always this one. Okay, so let's create the bucket. So, okay, we're going to use the bucket type general purposes. Okay, the directory is going to reduce the latency, but it's going to be, I mean, the cost of this directory option is going to be higher. So we're going to leave it as a bucket type general purposes. So here, remember that I told you that the bucket name needs to be unique, okay? So I'm gonna put this, like the name of the bucket will be, let's see, my website. We cannot use underscore here and upper cases. Let's see if this, see bucket names. Yeah, I wanna try this one. Now, this is gonna be disabled because this is the legacy method to show public access. And there is this option that it says that we can block this to the entire internet. But right now I'm gonna unselect this part because I wanna have a public bucket right now. And there is this option that says that we can enable the version. We're going to disable it because we don't want to have versions of all the files that we want to save inside of the project. But I think it will be a good idea that, remember that I will deploy right now a website, right? So I need to create a website. Let me explain you something. Let me see. CD codecs pathway 4. And I will create here a Beat project. Remember, we are using Beat to use React. Okay, so it will be npm create Beat at latest. The name of the project will be my site. I'm gonna choose, in this case, React, JavaScript, and SWC. So I need to enter to my site folder, then install the dependencies. I will open the project right now in my VS Code, but we need to install the dependencies first. Let's wait this. Code dot. So if you deploy the project, guys, this is like the default project that we have on React. npm run dev. We can run this project here, and let me show it. And we have a counter, right? This is a simple counter. So I'm gonna create a modification to this project. Instead of having this title, I'm gonna put here my project. Or yeah, my project. Yeah, this way. I will remove this icon, guys. I don't like this icon. So I'm gonna remove it. And you see the icon has disappeared. What else? Because I want to do something simple right now. So the app.js file that I have here, I will remove everything that it contains. Let me show you something here. Okay, so right now I'm gonna create an H1 that's going to represent, for example, the table. No, just in this case, just static content, right? So here, welcome. And we'll add a p element. And here I will set up. Do you know what is Lorem ipsum, guys. It's just aleatory content. Because this is just an example. Okay, so I'm gonna use this lorem ipsum here. This is just random content. Okay. Okay, so we have this, and this will be the project. Okay. Okay, this is very simple. So how can I deploy this into my S3 bucket? You need to understand that there is a command in React that is called build. This is going to create one index file, one CSS file, and one .js file. And this is how we create a project, and we can deploy it in our S3 bucket. So let me move this around. Okay, so I will stop the server right now. And the project's gonna be npm. Sorry, guys. npm run build. This will create one folder here. You will see it. Let me see. Give me a second, guys. It's no, sorry. In this case, it's bit build, guys. Sorry. So no. Oh, I misspelled the word build. My mistake. npm run build this way. So it's going to create something. Are you there, guys?
Yeah.
Guys? Yeah. For some
Yeah.
reason, my camera has got frozen. Yeah. Okay. Let me show it again. So I don't know if you notice this, but when I run the command created this folder that is called the dist, or the distribution files. So we have the PNG file that I don't like, the index file, and we have something that is called the assets. So here we have the index.js. This is all the JavaScript logic, and this is the CSS configuration. So how can I upload this into my S3 bucket? Let me show you. So when you are creating the bucket here, we're going to disable the versioning first. The server side encryption, I'm gonna leave it this way. Using, this is gonna be disabled. Let's go to advanced settings. Okay, yeah, okay, let's continue. Let's create the bucket. Yeah, I acknowledge this. Okay, so if I go inside of the bucket, guys, I can upload some files here. So what I can do is that I can drag and drop the folders here, or you can add a folder. So I need to navigate to my documents. We have this my site, and there is this folder that is called distributions, right? So we're going to upload the entire folder. You see? So as you see, we have the index. Okay, this is all the entire content, okay? Now let me go here and click, yeah, upload. Okay, so the content right now, it's online. If I click here, I can see the index file. I can open it here, but right now it's not working. Now, the reason that this is not working is because I need to access denied. Let me see. Yeah, let me show you. Yeah, okay, we need to enable some stuff here. Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, no, it's here. Now we need to go to the configuration, and there is this object. I mean, this option that says, no, let me return again to the S3 service. first here. Oh, my mistake, guys. I need to remove this folder first. That was not the way. That's not the correct way that I need to update. I mean to upload the project. So I will remove the folder. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so again, let's see. Add files. So we're going to add the files here. Now I'm going to add a folder. This one, assets. Okay, this is the correct way. Sorry, guys. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it this way. Okay. Now we are going to upload this. Excellent. Now let's return to the bucket. So the bucket contains the index file and this part. So I think we need to go to properties here. And event notifications, give me a second. Okay, so we need to enable here the static website hosting. So first, we need to edit, and we're going to enable the static website hosting. And this is going to host a static website. Yeah, we need to set up the index file, and it is the index file. We don't have any error file, so we are not going to set that part. And I think this is just enough. Now we need to save the changes. Once we enable this, we can see that this is the URL of the project. Let's see, permission denied. Okay, now this is, I mean, we cannot open the project here or the website because we need to add a policy, guys. So if we go to the presentation, the step number 8, we have done all these parts, all these 8 steps, but we need to add the bucket policy that we're going to enable public access to all the objects. So this is the code of the policy. I have it here. So I will copy paste it, but I'm going to change the S3 name, okay, the name of the bucket that I have here. So let me go to the bucket here, and let's go. There is something that is called policies here. Let's see. Permissions, I think it's here. Bucket policy. So here we're going to edit this. I'm going to paste the policy here, and I'm going to copy paste this Amazon resource name. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to save the policy, guys. Okay, so this is going to enable the permissions online, and as you see, the website, it's available. You see it, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
and as you see, we have here a URL that is provided by AWS, right? With a domain name, a subdomain name. And as you see, we don't have the security layer, but in this week, I will show you tomorrow how to add the security layer to our project. And as I don't know if you noticed this, but if we can render a React project here, we can render our front end that we have of our, I mean, in this case, the contact agenda that I have created this 2 past weeks, I will upload this tomorrow, but we need to enable something else that is called the course policies, okay? Because we want to create connections with another, in this case, in another server that is the EC2 instance that contains the backend. So for today, guys, this has been all. We have been learning. Let me go to the conclusions for this presentation. So as a conclusion, guys, for the entire lesson, S3 is a powerful and flexible cloud storage service. It's going to help you to allow you to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. We're going to understand that, I mean, we learn it or we understand that buckets and objects, buckets is going to contain objects, and this is how we identify the, I mean, we don't have to continue saving information in our EC2 instance because, I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but I am a legacy developer. I am this kind of developer that he was used to work with on-premise servers. The word on-premise means that um, we have servers in our companies that were physical servers instead of having cloud servers. So if you want to save a file, you might need to save it inside of the server in a folder. So here we don't need to save the files inside of a folder. We are using the object-based storage in S3. So we are understanding that buckets are objects. We are like the, I mean, are like the analogy of having a server with some folders and where we are saving those files inside of the server. Okay. Now, S3 is an excellent solution for hosting a static websites. It's going to be fast, easy to configure, and the cost is going to be effective. Now, security access is crucial in an S3 bucket. By default, a bucket is going to be private. And you know, now you know, guys, how to scale this kind of operations that you can deploy a website and you can deploy an EC2 instance for the backend. So the idea is that we're learning how to create a full stack project using the front end in an S3 bucket and the backend in an EC2 instance. Okay, so this is all for today, guys. Are there some questions about these lessons, guys? Okay, if there are no questions, let me explain you that for this week, the first assignment for this week, and it's going to cost 3 points, is that you can add the SSL certification to your EC2 instance. And the next assignment will be that I will put a guide here so you can deploy the front end, and that's going to cost another 2 points. Okay. So guys, let me know if there are some questions. So if you do not have any questions, guys, you can start working in this assignment or in previous assignments if you haven't finished them. Okay. Oh, there is a message. Let me see the message. No questions. Ah, okay. Great, great. Okay, guys, so good luck. Continue working in your assignments. Let me know if I can help you. Let's see, give me a second. Let's see. Okay, so this is your project, right? And this is your IP. Let me show you the Raylon server, right? And if I copy your IP slash, I mean, the port is 3000 slash API stat first. How you call it, employee, right?
Mine is 4,000.
4000.
Yeah, do you want me to change it?
No, no, no. The thing is that there is an error. You cannot connect. For some reason, I don't understand what's the problem is in the DB connection. I mean, you cannot create the PG pool object because you are trying to connect to this IP. So I think that the problem is that you didn't create the .env file inside of the instance. Let me connect to your project. Let's see if you have it.
Okay.
the security port 22. This is the SSH port. But for some reason, and try to connect again. Error establishing connections to your instance. Let me see if I can connect to another instance. And I was working in this one. Hmm. I mean, let me try again the connection. Give me a second. Let me see. The security. Port 22. Okay. The 22 port's the one that is going to help us with the connection. You have the port 22 here. But can you connect to the IP to the server?
I can try it.
Please try, please, because I'm not able to do this operation. Yeah. This is happening. This is super weird. I cannot see I mean, I cannot read the content that you have in the folder because I cannot connect to the instance. Please try you if you can, please. Okay, I will record. Okay. Great. Now try. Do you have the record, the DNS record? Can you show it?
The what?
The DNS record in Route 53.
Oh, in here?
Uh, no. You need to create a record here. Yeah.
That's what I was just on. That's what this,
Can you
So-
scroll here because I cannot see the records.
oh, yeah, here,
What is the one that you created?
hospital backend right here.
Okay, I think. Give me a second.
Okay,
Okay, the record name should be your name. In this case, Tammy hyphen backend.
oh, okay.
So remove it and recreate it, please.
You can just edit it or just delete it.
Delete the record and recreate it. Everything in underscore. I mean in lowercase, sorry. Lowercase.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, like that. And then you need to put the IP of the server here. If you want, you can type here EC2. Now right click this one, right click. No, but you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, try to copy the IP of your project. That's one. Okay, let's go again. No, there. No, there. Yeah. Let's go to Route 53. And now enter to the hosted zone. Enter to the zone. And then create record. Then the IP. And create record. Okay, now let's return to the console. Okay, now you need to continue with the next step. Let's go to the. Okay, first you need to kill any project. I mean, anything that you have in the port 80. So copy this command. That's going to list if you have a process in that port. No, you don't have anything. That's correct. Now let's return to the guide. And we are going to run this command. If you want, you can copy until -d, until here, because then you need to put the domain name that you created. No. Let me okay, let me see. You need to copy until here. This is going to change by your domain. You're missing one letter.
The D.
The D, yeah.
Okay.
Until there. Now you need to type your the domain that you created. I can recommend that you can copy paste it from here. You can drag this to the left. I mean to the right. It will be to the right. Yeah, and copy that. No, just delete and then paste. Now press enter. Now you need to put your email because I'm going to send something to you. Press Y. Again. Oh, okay. So this problem happens to me yesterday, and it was because I didn't have the port 80 enabling the instance. Let's check if you have that port enabled. So let's return to the AWS configuration and look for the EC2 instance dashboard. This one. Okay. Let's go down. There is this option that says security. No, you pass it. Security. Okay, you don't have the port 80. So we're going to edit the inbound rules. I think it should be yeah, if you want, you can click. Oh, no, yeah, click here. This is going to redirect to the definition. Now we are going to edit the inbound rules. And you're going to add a rule this will be the port 80. Add a rule. No. Add.
Oh,
Yeah. In the port 80. If you want, you can select HTTP. This one. And that the first option, that one. And you're going to add another rule. It's going to be HTTPS. That. Save
Save.
rules. Yeah. Now let's return to the instance and try to repeat the same. If you want, you can just press the up key and press enter. Yeah, and the certificate has been created. Okay, now you have SSL in your server, but you need to do now some modifications in the backend, okay?
okay.
Okay, let me share my repository if you want. You can check my if statements and the .env file. Give me a sec. I will drop the URL of my repository here. Okay. If you want, you can check the code that I have there. You need to
And-
apply that modification in the index file and in the .env file. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. If you want, you can continue working by yourself.